Why hello! Welcome to this edition of Social Studies in a Snap with me, Mr. Brainstead. At this point, you're well aware that I am actually a future version of Mr. Bolstead from the future with a really cool mustache. However, the dastardly Dark Knight has been impersonating me for 3 decades, and at this point in the future, his dark squires are overrunning Camelot as we speak. They've even infiltrated the Knights of the Round Table and made the ruling to ban recess and art from school. Who knows, gym and library may be next. We must act quickly, or we may reach the point of no return that dooms our school once and for all. For this unit, we will focus on mastering the standards for Mr. Bolstead's unit on American Indians. Different tribes from different regions had vastly different ways of life. From what they ate to the homes they lived in, the different climates greatly impacted the lifestyles that the American Indians had for generations prior to the European explorers coming over from Europe. Our guest from history is an American Indian from the eastern woodlands region of New England. He was one of the American Indians who helped the Pilgrims to survive in the New World. He learned to speak English as he was captured into slavery not once, but twice, and he served as a guide and an interpreter for the Pilgrims. He taught the Pilgrims how to plant corn and how well it grew in the New World. He had much power between both the Pilgrims and the American Indians. Using my time travel lanyard, let's venture back to the year 1620 to visit Plymouth, Massachusetts. Please join me in welcoming our very special guest, Squanto. Now, Squanto, American Indians are a very diverse group of people that come from a variety of regions and climates. Can you share some of your insights into the way of life for American Indians?
Quay. I'm pleased to join you, Mr. Brainstead. My tribe, the Patuxent, which are part of the Wampanoags, admire the courage and bravery you are demonstrating in leading these young warriors against the Dark Knight. These are traits that are central to many American Indian cultures. For example, some tribes on the Great Plains, such as the Sioux, would earn status upgrades in the tribe by touching, but not killing their enemies to show their bravery. They called this counting coup. You could think of this like leveling up within a video game. Additionally, other traits such as open work ethic, patience, good listening skills, and a strong spirituality were admired. The environmental wisdom and spirituality of North American Indians is legendary.
Animals were respected as equal in rights to humans. Of course they were hunted, but only for food, and the hunter first asked permission of the animal spirit. Among the hunter-gatherers, the land was owned in common. There was no concept of private property in land, and the idea that it could be bought and sold was shocking. Many Indians had an intense appreciation of nature's beauty. Religious beliefs varied between tribes, but there was a widespread belief in a great spirit who created the earth and who pervaded everything. The Indians viewed the white man's attitude to nature as the opposite of the Indian. The white man seemed destined on not only destroying the Indians, but the whole natural order, clearing land and forests and killing animals for sport.
That sounds awful, but it sure sounds like you had a deep connection with nature. Since you know so much about nature, I've had this one burning question that I've lingered over and stayed up night after night for that I just can't seem to find an answer for. I know that a cow says moo. I know that a duck quacks. But what does a fox say? Do they say, whoop-pop-pop-pop-pop-pow? Or do they say, ring-a-ding-ding-ding-ding-a-ding? Or do they say, social studies rocks? Which one do they say?
None of them. They say none of them.
Oh, well, that's embarrassing. I guess I'll never know the true answer to that one. Anyway, it sounds like you guys did a lot of work to hunt and gather for your food.
Well, more than just the guys worked. Both genders, and even children, had roles within the tribe.
Wampanoag men were hunters and sometimes went to war to protect their families. Wampanoag women were farmers and also did most of the child care and cooking. Both genders took part in storytelling, artwork, music, and traditional medicine. In the past, Wampanoag chiefs were always men, but today a Wampanoag woman can participate in government too.
Now hold on right there. I have never seen a movie that depicts a woman as a Native American chief.
Life isn't always like it is in the movies. First of all, we had no chiefs. That is a white man term. Those who you call chiefs reach their position based on several factors. In Plains American Indian tribes, the leader gained many honors during his lifetime by counting coup. This showed he was brave. He must be a man of personal honor. His decisions were usually wise. If he didn't have many coups to his credit, even with good character and making good decisions, nobody would follow him anywhere. Usually he attained the position by being nominated, and essentially elected by consensus. If he made too many poor decisions, he would lose his following, and someone else would become the leader.
There are many categories of medicine man. Some were healers. They treated wounds and illness. Some medicine men healed the spirit. They were the doorway between this world and the spirit world. Some were both healers and spiritual advisors. Most women also had some knowledge of the healing herbs. The spiritual advisors would interpret visions that directed a young man's life. They would also perform ceremonies to call the game to provide food for our people. Religion for us was a life way. Every action had a spiritual meaning. Every sign, in a way, had spiritual significance. The education of a medicine man was begun at an early age. He would serve as an apprentice for 4 to 6 years or more, learning the trade. There were medicine women, but they could not attain the position until after they passed the age of childbearing. A warrior was most any male above the age of 16 who has had a vision quest and counted at least one battle honor. They hunted for their families, and a warrior generally trained his nephews or grandsons. The role of the women was to care for the children, make the clothes, cook, butcher the food, and gather the growing food. They also carried the water and firewood.
Theirs was perhaps the most important role in the entire village. They kept the village going. They ran the households.
It sounds like a lot of work compared to the lifestyles we have now, and especially compared to the lifestyles of people from the time that I come from. So tell me a little more. What were the homes like that the Wampanoags would live in the past?
The Wampanoags didn't live in teepees like the Plains American Indians. They lived in villages of small round houses called witus, or wigwams.
Each Wampanoag village was built around a central square used for councils and ceremonies. Some villages were palisaded or surrounded with log walls for protection. Today, Native Americans only build a wigwam for fun or to connect with their heritage, not for shelter. Most Wampanoags live in modern houses and apartment buildings today, just like you.
So, what was the Wampanoag clothing like? Did they wear feather headdresses and face paint?
Wampanoag women wore knee-length skirts. Wampanoag men wore breechcloths with leggings.
The Wampanoags didn't wear long headdresses like the Sioux. Usually, they wore a beaded headband with a feather or two in it. A Wampanoag leader might wear a headdress made of feathers, pointing straight up from a headband. Wampanoag women had long hair, but a man would often wear his hair in a mohawk style or shave his head completely except for a scalp lock, which is one long lock of hair on top of his head. Wampanoag warriors also painted their faces and sometimes decorated their bodies with tribal tattoos. Today, some Wampanoag people still have a traditional headband or moccasins, but they wear modern clothes like jeans instead of breechcloths, and they only wear feathers in their hair on special occasions, like a powwow or dance.
Now for my final question, Squanto, how did American Indians adjust their lifestyles to the climate and geography around them?
American Indians adapted to their environments by exploiting what each environment had to offer. With these adaptations, American Indians developed a way of life, or culture. Their culture was affected by geographic factors, such as the climate and what shelter or housing was needed to survive. It was affected by temperature and the availability of water, which affected the ability to collect wild plants or to grow their own crops. The availability of animals was also affected by geography, so the animals around for hunting, fishing, or domesticating for use. Geography impacted the availability of other natural resources for building tools, building weapons, shelters, and for making clothing. Some natural resource examples might be wood, plants, mud, stone, or even leather. Geography impacted our proximity to other tribes and having competition or cooperation with other neighboring tribes, an opportunity to attack other tribes or to cooperate with other tribes for self-defense or to trade goods. And finally, it impacted our proximity or navigable rivers or accessible trails that we could use for communication, for trade, and for cooperation with other tribes. So overall, American Indians adapted in amazing ways to their environment by developing technology such as tools, developing weapons, housing, and clothing that use the resources around us in the environment. Now, Mr. Brainstead, you must excuse me. The pilgrims who just arrived are unprepared for survival here. I must train them further on how to survive. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Squanto. Thank you for all of your help. So let me see. For me to get others to follow me in my resistance against the Dark Knight, I need to show my bravery. And maybe I should start counting coups just like the Plains Indians would do. That's how they showed their bravery. So I need to touch, but not kill my enemy. Time travel lanyard, take me back to the future. Hola, Dark Knight. Be prepared for me to poke you in the eyes. Ha-ta!
Ouch, Mr. Bay. That really hurts. And it's still hurting. But no matter. By the end of this year, Camelot will be in my control forever, and neither you or Mr. Fiedler can stop me. Mwahaha!